The following episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television. Good morning, USA, and welcome to another episode of the Bernie or Bust Show. Make no mistake, this is class warfare. What I'm trying to get across today is how sneaky it can be. We have these leaders of the opposition, supposed leaders of the opposition, and they're working for the enemy all along. The basis of this show is that Noam Chomsky, Norm Solomon, and other thought leaders, supposedly in favor of what the opposition is doing, they're all cowards. They're all sneaky thieves, and we need to stand up to them. Sheepdogs I've talked about. We've had sheepdogs trying to get us into the Democratic fold. Well, these opposition leaders are worse. Let me compare them to a famous historical figure. Gabriel Riquetti, Count of Mirabeau, was a leader of the opposition to King Louis XVI, or so everyone thought. Turns out he was being paid by the king the entire time to persuade the revolutionaries to calm the fuck down. He was being paid to persuade the revolutionaries to engage in a more reasonable form of resistance. So who are the controlled opposition forces today? We have people doing the same thing now. They mostly have academic credentials of some sort, and they seem to be leftist because they espouse the correct leftist ideologies. But when it comes right down to it, they're either afraid or they're being paid. I've called out the sheepdogs in previous episodes, and I've called out anyone who would tell you to vote blue no matter who, because Donald Trump. We've got a gut-wrenching, puke-inducing argument today from some people who definitely know better. So we are putting them in the Count of Mirabeau's category today. An open letter to the Green Party for 2020, signed by, probably written by Noam Chomsky, which is why I've singled him out for the meme below that says hashtag Noam Chomsky is a coward. But he may be worse than a coward. And we're going to look at this short letter signed by Noam Chomsky, Barbara Ehrenreich, Bill Fletcher, Leslie Kagan, Ron Daniels, Kathy Kelly, Norman Solomon, Cynthia Peters, and Michael Albert. And I'm going to assume that they're all controlled opposition. I'm going to assume that they're all being paid by the king to keep the peasants in line, trying to keep us calmer, more reasonable, because after all, it's Donald Trump. So here we go. As the 2020 presidential election approaches, the Green Party faces the challenge of settling on a platform, choosing a candidate for president, and deciding its campaign strategy. I don't know about you, but I'm already getting this condescending, patronizing tone of voice. In that context, Howie Hawkins, a contender for Green Party presidential candidate, recently published a clear and cogent essay titled, "The Green Party is not the Democrats' problem. It represents a precedent Green Party stance which may guide Green campaign policy. We agree with much, but find some ideas very troubling." Doesn't that sound reasonable? The stance offered in Hawkins' article says, the assertion that the Green Party spoiled the 2000 and 2016 elections is a shallow explanation for the Democrats' losses. That in 2000, the Supreme Court stopped the Florida recount, that many factors elected Trump in 2016, including black voter suppression, Comey publicly reopening the Clinton email case a week before the election, $6 billion of free publicity for Trump from the commercial media, and a Clinton campaign that failed to get enough of its Democratic base out, that the Electoral College gave the presidency to the loser of the popular vote, that most Greens are furious at a Democratic Party that joins with Republicans to support domestic austerity and a bloated military budget and endless wars, that the Green Party's Green New Deal science-based timeline would put the country on a World War II scale emergency footing to transform the economy to zero greenhouse gas emissions and 100% clean energy by 2030, and that the Green Party wants to eliminate poverty and radically reduce inequality, including a job guarantee, a guaranteed income above poverty, affordable housing, improved Medicare for all, lifelong public education from pre-K through college, and a secure retirement. And finally, that the Green Party's strategy is to build the party from the bottom up by electing thousands to municipal and county offices, state legislatures, and soon the House as we go into the 2020s. Sounds pretty good. We agree that many factors led to Democratic Party losses and that the Supreme Court was a big one, as was the Electoral College, and we too are furious, we're furious, at Democrats joining Republicans in so many violations of justice and peace. Likewise, we admire the Greens' Green New Deal and economic justice commitments and also support a grassroots local office approach to winning electoral gains. So with all that agreement, why are we sending a critical open letter? Ka-ching! The stance the article presents, which may guide the Green campaign for president, says to hold all other factors contributing to recent presidential victories constant and focus on the Green Party as the deciding factor is a hypothetical that is a logical fallacy because it assumes away a factual reality. The Green Party is here to stay. However, our finding Green policy a factor in Republican victories in no way suggests that the Green Party should disappear, and our focus on factors within our reach to easily correct, for example, the Green Party role in contested states, is in fact sensible. This article is written in convoluted language, but the gist of it is that Ralph Nader and Jill Stein are to blame for the Democrat losses in those election cycles. So if the king is pulling the strings above both parties, if the king is telling both parties what to do, and assuming that these sheepdogs are being paid by the king, whoever the king is, whoever you think it is fine with me. What we have here is a message to the peasants to tone it down. Don't get too riled up. Don't get too far out of your restraints. We've got the controlled opposition reasonably, sensibly telling us that we shouldn't vote Green if the Democrats cheat Bernie again. We are pretending that the Democrats are better than the Republicans and using Donald Trump as a bogeyman to scare people. And we should know better, Gnome. We should know better, Norm. The people I know are sheepdogs. The people I know are cowards and cheats and leaders of a more moderate form of opposition than will actually work to get done what we need to get done. This is coming from privilege. This is coming from a condescending, patronizing place, and it's ugly. It needs to stop. We need to call out these cowardly opposition leaders who aren't really opposition leaders. They're really being paid by the king. They're being paid by hedge fund managers, Obama world, the Clinton machine, Hollywood, all the other people. Put your tinfoil hat on if you need to, but all of the true owners that George Carlin talked about. All around the world, there are all kinds of riots and problems, and people are getting agitated. It's time. We can feel it. It's time to rise up, to deny our labor, to protest in the streets. It's time to get things to work better. We've had both parties calming us down for over 100 years, at least 60 or 70 if you look at the historical record. We've been told to calm down for a long time, and now we're finally getting behind a candidate who is going to be the organizer-in-chief, and we're excited, and we think maybe things will finally change. The hope and change Obama promised may be finally coming to us, so we get excited, and that's where Norm comes in. That's where Gnome comes in. They tell us, hey, wait a minute, Donald Trump, he's so terrible. And he is terrible, but he's just one hand that the masters are beating us with. The masters have a right hand and a left hand, and they hit us with both hands. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat, so now he's a Republican. Elizabeth Warren used to be a Republican, now she's a Democrat. But they still represent the oligarchs pummeling us, and we need to get them to stop hitting us. Truthdig allows comments, so as you might imagine, there were some heated ones. Here's one. Not only do I think these authors are cowards, they are wrong. Hillary Clinton was not preferable to Donald Trump, as horrible as he is. She is a reckless warmonger, and she would have implemented the TPP, an international coup far worse than Trump's SCOTUS picks. If you want to blame Trump, though, you should also blame Obama for his Supreme Court appointee. And we can go on and on. and we have, about why both parties are equally corrupt. One is just a little more moderate. Both parties are being paid by the same people to keep us in chains, and that's how it's working out, and we keep falling for it. These people sound so reasonable. So we can make the case that Hillary Clinton is worse than Donald Trump, easily, and that doesn't let Donald Trump off the hook. Here's a comment from Land of the Free. That's a little bit ironic. The stupidity of the far left never ceases to amaze me. Trump preferable to Hillary? No wonder you people keep losing. You see the condescension, you see the snarling, you see the patronizing, you see the idea that we're the far left when we're actually pretty moderate. And then we go to Cindy Sheehan's comment. There is so much to unpack, so to speak, in this excrement-soaked yet condescending article written by apparent neoliberal Democrats to help form the 2020 electoral strategy of the U.S. Green Party. How dare they? That's what I was thinking. How dare they condescend to instruct the Green Party as a more reasonable, sensible way to run their party's affairs? By the way, did anyone from this autonomous party, which is recognized in most, if not all, U.S. states, ask for your idiotic opinion in the first place? Or maybe you all just decided to come out of your vote blue no matter who cotillion for a bit to hobnob with the electoral rabble. In full disclosure, I am not a Green, member of the Socialist Peace and Freedom Party, so my response to you tyrants who signed this letter comes from the perspective of a person who is profoundly interested in true grassroots democracy, not the version that is being pushed by you all. Not the version that is being pushed by Gabriel Riquetti, Count of Mirabeau. What I haven't yet summarized from the previous letter was that they were suggesting that Greens stand down in swing states, that they vote in safe states, so they don't do a nadir again, because the writers of this article understand that in swing states, those who didn't vote for the blue candidate are the reason Hillary isn't the queen now. So going on with this reply, your demand that the Greens stand down in swing states is so inherently anti-democratic that in a true democracy it would be considered treasonous. Of course, in our current failed state, you all seem to consider it patriotic to stick your blue noses in where they were not welcome. Your contention that there is a difference between Trump and Clinton is somewhat true. Many believe that a Clinton presidency would have meant more war and more corruption and more environmental degradation, not less. Not less than Trump. Of course, there is much verifiable evidence to back up these claims. Clinton has supported every U.S. imperialist war that ever came her way, and as her tenure as Secretary of State, she engineered the coup of a legitimately elected government in Honduras and the complete destruction and debilitation of Libya, among many such crimes. The Clinton Foundation has taken more money from oppressive regimes and sown more destruction than could have been dreamed of by any organized crime boss. Of course, Clinton Incorporated are the very epitome of organized crime, as they went flying by in Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Express. For you all to even hint that Clinton would have been a better choice is ludicrous. In my opinion, people who voted for Jill Stein, the 2016 Green POTUS nominee, in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and not for Trump or Clinton, did not cost Ms. War Criminal the election at all. After 8 years of a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top and other neoliberal policies of the Obama regime that saw the war machine grow dramatically and U.S. imperialism blossom like a metastatic cancer, Democrats lost those states. Honestly, Stein got a little over 1% of the vote nationally in 2016, and if the Democrats couldn't nominate someone that could overcome that small percentage and beat the ridiculous game show host that entered the race on a lark, no wonder they and you pathetic sycophants are searching everywhere for an answer that doesn't point a laser focus right back on them. Also, it appears that you authors, signers of the above referenced letter support the monster Hillary Clinton. I cannot really say enough about her evilness, and this alone makes me question the credibility and the motives of you neoliberals responsible for this dreck. You rely on those tired and already debunked canards of blaming the Greens for 2000 and 2016 and not the system of rigged voting machines, winner-take-all, massive amounts of campaign money, or any of the other electoral industrial complex bullshit that have been designed from the beginning to keep the people's voices out and put either a Trump or Clinton up on top. Even the upcoming 2020 looming freak show is pitting worker against worker in ways that further divide us instead of uniting us behind a platform of social activism that could actually have a positive impact, like the courageous protests in France or Iraq, for example. Not to mention the Occupy movement. You election tyrants from this green strategy claptrap seem to believe that the Democrat half of the war party owns my or anyone's vote, when as a matter of fact, voting for any Democrat or Republican is voting for more murder and more oppression, but you appear to feel that a vote for someone other than the pitiful Democrat nominee is somehow disordered. Nothing is going to change at all for the better if anyone keeps hanging on to the failed strategies of the past, and your outlined strategy not only reeks of rotten hubris, but has proven time and time and time again to be a bad one that hurts people. Can you not see this from your positions of privilege or ivory towers? Do you only care about a political party that shits all over peace, the planet, and all the people? In trying to silence opposition voices and steering votes to the champions of imperialism and capitalism, you have become the problem. Now we move to Elizabeth Warren's electoral track record is incredibly worrying by Matt Karp. A new look at the 2018 midterms shows that while Bernie Sanders has already won back Obama-Trump voters, Elizabeth Warren was decimated in exactly the kinds of places Democrats need to win in 2020. So in those swing states where they were complaining that Jill Stein stole votes away from Hillary, what we also should say is that Hillary would not have gotten those votes anyway. They would have gone, a lot of them went to Donald Trump. A lot of them went to Jill Stein because Hillary was worse, obviously, than Jill Stein. And what we have here is a strong case that Elizabeth Warren would be no more powerful in those swing states than Hillary was. Because this episode is already so long, I just want you to go to this article and read it and understand that the comparison of the way Bernie has campaigned in Vermont versus the way Elizabeth has campaigned in New Hampshire shows a clear difference, county by county, how Bernie would kick ass in swing states compared to Elizabeth. There are many counties in Vermont and in New Hampshire that resemble the counties in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So if you go by income level and you go by education level, what you see is that the kinds of counties where Bernie has shown himself to be powerful in Vermont are also the kinds of counties he would be powerful in the swing states. This is an amazing article. Data-driven, and so if you're not persuaded after you read it, I would like to talk to you about it. I'm not going to explain it to you, but I would like to hear your take on it in the comments below. And so we need to tell Noam and Norm and all the other reasonable vote blue no matter who people to shove it up your lily white privileged asses. We need to get over this shit now.
Get on board the Bernier bus train. Come get on board the Bernier bus train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Oh, get on board the Bernier bus train.
The preceding episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television.